What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. And today we will be going over the 10 most dysfunctional cartoon couples. And with number 10 we have Cartman and Heidi from South Park. Let's be honest, it would be impossible to make an episode of South Park without offensive jokes, so it shouldn't come off as a surprise that this show is filled with some of the most dysfunctional couples. Just take a look at Cartman and Heidi. He literally threatened to commit suicide because he wanted her to feel guilty for breaking up with him. Throughout their relationship, Cartman viewed her as a tool he could use to make himself feel better or more powerful. He even thought that it would be funny to turn her into an extension of himself by forcing her to gain weight and influencing her to believe in racist ideas. Since being with Cartman was emotionally draining, Heidi's mental health began to deteriorate as she stopped taking care of herself and decreased her social responsibilities. And you know what's the worst part? Each time they fought, Heidi blamed herself because Cartman was a master manipulator who knew exactly how to play the victim card. Number 9, Plankton and Karen. It may be a little strange to see this couple on this list because SpongeBob is labeled as a children's show, but the toxic relationship between Plankton and Karen proves that the writers weren't afraid to address adult issues. There are multiple times where Plankton treated Karen terribly, like all those times he referred to her as a computer wife because he knew that it would lower her self-esteem. Also, he constantly took credit for her ideas, blamed her for his failures, and conducted experiments on her. To make matters even worse, there was an episode where he built another wife and expected Karen to be perfectly fine with the idea of her husband cheating on her. To be fair, there are a few moments where the roles are reversed and Karen acts like the abuser while Plankton acts like the victim. Whenever this couple is on the screen, Karen encourages his evil behavior and then verbally belittles him for always coming up short when it comes to stealing the secret formula. Not to mention that there's also an episode where Karen makes fun of Plankton right in front of his family because she just found out that his first name is Sheldon. Number 8, Bob and Miriam Bataki. As a kid, I always wondered why Helga thought that nothing was wrong with bullying the guy she was secretly in love with, but everything began to make sense once I revisited the show as an adult. It's clear that Helga's obsessive behavior is attributed to the fact that she was never taught how to perfectly love someone, which all stems from the lack of support she received from her neglectful parents. I think everyone can agree that Bob and Miriam shouldn't have even ever had a child in the first place. What makes their relationship so frustrating is that they obviously no longer love each other, but for some reason they refuse to get divorced. If you analyze their scenes together, you'll notice that Bob is the epitome of a husband who lashes out on his wife because he can't control his anger issues. It's safe to assume that Miriam became an alcoholic and developed a mopey personality because she's stuck in a relationship with a guy who frequently ignores her. As a result of their dysfunctional marriage, Helga decided to follow in her father's footsteps by acting aggressive towards her crush, Arnold. Number 7, Cotton and Dede Hill. King of the Hill established Cotton as one of the most blatantly misogynistic characters in the history of television, so it's no wonder why all his relationships ended up failing miserably. His first wife, Tilly, was smart enough to leave him because she knew that she could not spend the rest of her life listening to her husband belittle her for being old and bad in bed. Then there's Dede, who continued to stay in a relationship with Cotton despite the fact that he gave her breast implants just because he wanted people to view her as his property. Cotton is one of those guys who strongly believes that women should cook and clean for their husbands all day long, so he made sure that Dede performed all the household chores. He spent so much time verbally abusing her that it got to the point where she became extremely timid. Dede is a textbook definition of a woman who suffers from battered spouse syndrome, which basically means that the victim becomes so passive that she's unable to leave her abuser. This perfectly explains why she remained married to him until he eventually died from heart failure. Number 6, Jerry and Beth Smith. I speak for everyone when I say one of the greatest moments in Rick and Morty was when Beth realized that she brought the worst out of Jerry just like he brought the worst out for her. I don't even know where to begin with this couple. First, there's Jerry, who doesn't support her occupation as a horse surgeon and forces her to choose between him or her father. Then, there's Beth, who basically confessed that she only stayed with Jerry for the sake of their child, which isn't saying much considering that she was planning on getting an abortion. We all knew that their relationship was a complete train wreck when we found out that Beth's subconscious vision of Jerry was a slug that puckers its butt out of submissive fear. Jerry's vision of Beth, on the other hand, was a vicious monster, which just goes to show that he viewed his wife as a killing machine. Beth and Jerry's codependency was so toxic and destructive that it literally destroyed the best marriage counseling center in the universe. Number 5, Randy and Sharon Marsh. I'm pretty sure that most of you already know that there was absolutely no way Cartman and Heidi were the only South Park couple that was toxic enough to make it on the list. Randy and Sharon are completely aware that their relationship is a disaster, which explains why they divorced on 2 separate occasions, but quickly reconciled with each other. Not gonna lie, Randy is one of the funniest characters in the show, but his selfish, immature, and inappropriate behavior is what makes his relationship with Sharon so toxic. I honestly lost count of all the times Sharon got into an argument with Randy because he either mocked her or did something extremely stupid. You know that this couple is super dysfunctional when Sharon cheated on Randy with a shake weight because she was sick and tired of being mistreated. To be fair, you can easily argue that Sharon knew what she was signing up for when she stayed with the guy who purposefully contracted cancer and forced his son to kill an alien. Number 4, Stan and Francine Smith. American Dad, just like many other cartoons, represent the typical trope of a dumb guy who keeps disappointing his wife but earns her forgiveness as soon as he does something really sweet. There was an episode where Stan checked Francine into an asylum because he forgot about their anniversary and he wanted to buy himself some time to prepare an over-the-top celebration. Any girl with a brain would have immediately left him without even hesitating, but since this is a cartoon, Francine chose to forgive him and they pretended like that day never even happened. Another moment that really stuck out to me was when Francine began to take therapy because she was questioning many of her life decisions, including marrying Stan. Not only did Stan eavesdrop on Francine's therapy sessions, but he also used CIA technology to erase her memory because each session ended with her wondering why she didn't get a divorce yet. Putting aside the fact that Stan has made Francine cry on multiple occasions, I have to give him props for always admitting his mistakes and trying his best to make things right. Number 3, Homer and Marge Simpson. It's no secret that the Simpsons have been America's favorite cartoon family for 30 years, but that doesn't change the fact that Homer's relationship with Marge is far from healthy. One of the worst things that Homer ever did to Marge was frame her for drinking and driving, which is what caused her to go to rehab. This should have been more than enough of a reason to leave her husband, but the other patients at the rehab center convinced her to forgive him. Marge has spent so much time justifying Homer's actions that fans were genuinely shocked when they discovered that she was going to leave him in the Simpsons movie. She broke up with him through a letter that said, "I've always stood up for you. When the people point out your flaws, I always say, well, sometimes you have to step back and appreciate a work of art. Lately, what's keeping us together is my ability to overlook everything you do, and I overlook these things because, well, that's the thing. I just don't know how to finish that sentence anymore." This memorable moment proves that not even Marge knows why she was putting up with Homer's reckless behavior for years and years. Number 2, the Joker and Harley Quinn. Some people may think that I'm cheating by including a comic book couple on this list, but keep in mind that their abusive relationship began when Harley debuted in Batman the Animated Series. Watching this show as a kid always left me confused because I had no idea why Harley was devoted to a guy who would smack her around for no apparent reason. Occasionally, she would break away from him, but everyone knew that it was only a matter of time before she ran back to him. As sad as it sounds, it only took one act of kindness from the Joker to make Harley forgive him for all the abuse that he put her through. Fans can debate all they want about whether or not the Joker has feelings for Harley, but there's no denying that he would literally kill her just so he can make Batman's life more miserable. If you don't believe me, then watch the Mad Love episode. Harley tried to impress the Joker by capturing the Caped Crusader, but she soon found out that she made a huge mistake. Instead of being proud of her, the Joker shoved Harley out of the window because he wanted to be the one who was responsible for inflicting pain on Batman. That right there proves that his twisted relationship with Batman will always be stronger than his relationship with Harley. And number 1, Peter and Lois Griffin. Yes, I know it sounds crazy, but this cartoon couple is even more dysfunctional than the Joker and Harley Quinn. What makes their relationship so infuriating is that Peter really doesn't seem to care about how badly he treats Lois. Just like Homer and Stan, Peter is always seen doing something really stupid, and then Lois has no other choice but to clean up his mess. Even Death himself made an appearance to tell Peter that he should spend more time appreciating his wife, and by the next episode, it becomes clear that he never learned his lesson. Don't worry, Lois isn't off the hook either. She literally made out with Meg's boyfriend who was underage and then blamed Peter because she claimed that he never paid attention to her. Peter and Lois aren't just guilty of emotionally abusing each other either. They're also known for physically harming one another. What started off as an innocent bickering and arguing has slowly evolved into a full-fledged WWE match. Having one person act as an abuser in a relationship is bad enough, so you know that it's only gonna get worse when both of them don't know how to keep their hands to themselves. And that is it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at @ValenPlana, and I'll see you all on the next video.
And I got this soul